lot of people wonder why each country has its own sign language and why American Sign Language is a lot more similar to French Sign Language than British Sign Language. Well, Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet was from Hartford, Connecticut. One day, he was outside his house and he noticed his neighbor's daughter, Alice, who was 9 years old at the time, playing outside. He noticed she was very smart and also deaf. He started teaching her how to read and write, but communication was very hard. With some community support, he was able to go to Europe, more specifically Paris and France. Over there, he met Professor Sickard and two of his deaf students, Monsieur and Clerk. Gallaudet took private lessons with Clerk, and before he came back to America, he asked Clerk to come with him and help him open the first deaf school in the US. He hesitated at first, but then agreed. The trip by ship took 60 days. During those 60 days, Gallaudet taught Clerk the English language, and in return, Clerk taught Gallaudet the French Sign Language. In 1817, they opened the first public free deaf school in the US. At the time, it was called the Connecticut Asylum for the Education and Instruction of Deaf and Dumb Persons, now called American School for the Deaf. Students from all over the country attended the school, and they brought many signs they used at home. And Gallaudet and Clerk brought many signs from France. A mix of those form our current American Sign Language. Students who graduated would move to different states to establish other deaf schools and pass down the language to the next generation. Gallaudet got married in 1821 to a deaf woman named Sophia Fowler. He retired in 1830 and passed away in 1851. Clerk taught at the American School for the Deaf until the 1850s. He passed away in 1869. Clerk was the greatest supporter of sign language instruction instead of oral instruction to deaf children in America. He was also the first deaf person to stand before Congress and the president, who at the time was James Monroe. Edward Gallaudet was the youngest son of Thomas Gallaudet. He continued his father's studies and also worked at the American School for the Deaf. Edward became superintendent of the Columbia University of the Deaf and Dumb and the Blind in Washington, D.C. In 1864, the first college for the deaf was created. It was called the National Deaf-Mute College. 30 years later, it was renamed to Gallaudet College to honor his father. Finally, 34 years ago, it got its current name, Gallaudet University. It is the only deaf university in the world. Now back to the language. By the 1900s, there were deaf schools all over the country, and deaf people had the opportunity to be with deaf children and adults and develop their own culture, which is strongly based on their language. ASL was proven to be an actual, official, bona fide language with its own grammar and syntax in 1960 by William Stucco. He was the head of the English department at Gallaudet University. It is still a live language in the sense that it continually changes and gets updated. For example, the sign for language used to be made with the hand shape L for language. Currently, it is signed with the F hand shape.